Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Yesterday, the extremely anticipated Sonic Mania was released into the gaming community's eagerly waiting hands after suffering a 2-week delay for what was reported to be an issue with controller support, which is vital for a game of this style, and all seemed to be well with the game, until some gamers noticed a little something that shouldn't be there: Denuvo. Now, it would seem that, in spite of the complete lack of disclosure on the part of SEGA, gamers quickly discovered on their own that Sonic Mania comes packaged with the always-online DRM software that is basically universally despised by gamers everywhere. To be honest, I'm surprised that the software is still used at all given how hated it is, the countless reports of negative impact to game performance, and the simple fact that it is usually cracked extremely quickly, sometimes in a matter of mere days. It was also found out just as quickly that Sonic Mania could not be played in offline mode thanks to the presence of the anti-piracy software. Of course, a great many people are up in arms over Denuvo's presence, especially considering SEGA never bothered to tell anybody about its existence alongside the game. And for those of you who are not familiar with what Denuvo is or why it's so despised, let's go through a quick overview. Now, Denuvo made its first appearance in FIFA 15 back in 2014. Now, it's not quite designed as an always-online DRM if you go by what the company claims, but it does make use of a 64-bit encryption that is tied to the hardware, the platform that the product is installed on. Its stated intent is to require a reactivation for every hardware change within 24 hours, and it limits activations to 4 times per hardware change during that 24-hour period. This would help prevent piracy and illegal distribution of game content. That's at least how Denuvo works in theory. In practice, it seems to function a little differently. The anti-tamper software has been reported as checking in as many as between 1 and 30 times per minute in some instances, and despite not having actual third-party bench testing being done in a labbed environment, it has been reported by a huge number of people, myself being one of those people, that there have been drastic improvements in game performance once Denuvo was removed. My own personal experience came from the video game Rime, a simple enough puzzle game that I actually found to be rather delightful. Rime itself released with Denuvo, and I personally didn't think much of it at the time. I did, however, notice that Rime had an exceptionally long loading time in excess of 2 minutes in spite of my entire computer, including the game installation itself, being run on a Samsung 950 EVO, which is an M2 SSD with a 1GB per second sequential read and write speed, so plenty fast. I also noticed that the game suffered from frequent frame rate stutters that dropped below 20 frames on multiple occasions. However, Denuvo was cracked on Rime within 5 days, and shortly after, a patch was released that removed Denuvo from the game as the developer had promised. Now, it was verified that the patch in question made no other changes to the game itself other than to remove Denuvo, and the difference was night and day. And I wasn't the only one that noticed. Loading times dramatically decreased to an acceptable level, and the frame rate drops seemingly disappeared as if they were never there. Now, while this is hardly conclusive as far as evidence is concerned, and Denuvo continues to flatly refuse this and claim that it is a lie, multiple other people had the exact same experience that I personally had with Rime on numerous other titles. And being I do work in IT and I have a large amount of experience with diagnosing specific hardware and software issues, I can say a few things with certainty. Excluding the game process itself, I was using less than 2% of my CPU resources at idle, and I was making use of less than 30% of my available RAM, and my I/O load was also less than 20%. My GPU utilization was also of approximate levels. That will make no never mind to most people listening to me just rattle off numbers, but suffice to say, there was no bottleneck within my system that would have slowed performance while the game itself was running. The other main reason that so many people loathe Denuvo is that it is regarded as malware by a lot of gamers, by the definition that it is unwanted third-party software that deliberately leaves elements of itself behind even after being uninstalled. There was also the rumor that Denuvo destroyed SSDs, but that one I firmly believe is just a rumor, and it most likely came from a single person who was more than likely experiencing other issues with their computer and attributed the problems to Denuvo. Given how many PCs run SSDs now as a matter of course, if that were a problem, there would be about as many reports of it as people stating that the removal of Denuvo increased game performance. Now, it is worth noting that the issues with offline mode has been corrected and pushed out to PCs as of earlier today, and we'll wait to see if this included a removal of Denuvo itself. However, the fact remains that a great many people would not have even purchased this game had they known that Denuvo came with it, such as the strong reaction against the anti-tampering software. However, and this is yet one more example of why in this day and age you shouldn't be pre-ordering video games, those who pre-ordered the game who would wish to refund it due to the presence of Denuvo have found themselves unable to do so, even if they hadn't even installed or played the game yet. This is due to the pre-order of the game coming with a gifted copy of Sonic 1, which apparently is being marked as the point of purchase. This means that those purchases, which took place over 2 weeks ago, are not eligible for refunds, which is a nice little bonus for SEGA delaying the game for 2 weeks. It means that none of those people who pre-ordered it can get their money back. All in all, it's a fine bit of fuckery in general, and a lot of people are rightfully upset. Denuvo is highly controversial, it is horrible to begin with, not to mention it seems to be wholly ineffective, and its mere presence is enough to incite your player base. And it's a shame, too, because Sonic Mania is a good game. It really is. Well, if you don't completely suck at it like I do. But its quality is absolutely marred by these archaic decision-making practices by yet another out-of-touch AAA publisher. You know, just once, I'd like to come across a game that the AAA industry didn't manage to fuck up in some way. Fingers crossed it'll happen someday, but unfortunately, today is not destined to be that day. But as always, please do let me know what you think down in the comments below. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.